Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, we're talking about Thor, Love and Thunder. The new Marvel movie's out. We went and saw it. And we're also talking about this little movie on Shudder on a little streaming service called Mad God by director Phil Tippett. Stop motion animator extraordinaire. Really weird movie, Mad God. Andy and I did not know what we were getting into. It's some bold cinema in the second half of the show. We're going to talk about some upcoming trailers, some exciting things coming this September, November, a little bit of news. But first things first, Andy, we were out last week because I had dumb COVID. It sucked, man. So, apologies to the fans for being gone a week, but I'm back. I'm on fire. I'm better than ever. I can't wait to talk about movies. So, first thing, Netflix is going to start charging for shared accounts. In 5 countries, they're trying this out. In South America and Central America, they're going to be charging $2.99 a month for accounts that are spread across households. Netflix can track this, and they know who's doing it. And that's what they're going to start doing. They're going to try it out. They're going to try it out in smaller markets, and if it works, they're going to bring it here to America and lose a bunch of subscribers. Maybe they won't. What do you think about this, Andy?
Not in my backyard.
Not in my house. Right. Not in my America.
As for me in my house, we will serve HBO Max. This is going to have kind of mixed results. Netflix, after years, decades even of unrestricted growth, has started to finally slow down. They are losing subscribers, and this is one of their ways to kind of still attempt to grow, is to cut down on, or not cut down on password sharing, but to just charge for what's happening already, a much lower fee of $2.99. They are also going to be experimenting with a lower priced ad supported tier that has yet to hit, but that's always an option. Some of the other streaming services already do this. HBO Max, I think, has a lower one. Hulu, it's an option. And but things are not going great for Netflix. They're predicted to have a terrible. They have an earnings call in about an hour, or actually about 20 minutes.
Today?
God, today. It's probably going to be a disaster. They're looking at maybe a couple million, subscriber loss. It's going to probably be bad for them. So we'll see how that shakes out. But this is one of their ways of trying to get ahead of that and saying, we're going to be cutting down on password sharing. It kind of depends. A lot of people would rather just cancel if you're not paying for it anyways, and they want to charge you. Some people will just say, well, I'm not going to do that. But it's not too much. Zach, what do you think?
Once again, the curse of the show is truer than ever. All the good movie news happens while we're doing the episode. I'm sure there'll be something cool about earnings call that we'll talk about next week. Come back next week on Off Script for more. But regarding this, you're right. Netflix has been trying to shake things up because they're not doing so hot. I don't think this is it, especially because it's not just $2.99 on your account for sharing across houses. It's $2.99 per house. It's $2.99 per I guess person. Separate IP. It's going to, I don't know how it's going to work exactly. I'm not even sure how they track that.
Or but like separate locations, something like that.
Yeah, our family account, we've got that across I think 4 houses. I mean that so what at 3 times what $12 more? That's almost double my subscription price. Like, and yeah, I guess it's great that Netflix is going to 4 houses, but like that's not something I'm paying for now. What I am paying for now is other services, competitors like Amazon Prime Video and HBO Max and Hulu and Apple TV Plus that don't charge me for this, and they do this complimentary. Like, I think it's a miss. I don't think this is the right idea. I think they may make some money up front. They make it people who just begrudgingly go, yeah, okay, I'll keep paying it. It's fine. But like, if they actually did this here and they kept this model, which is smart, low cost, right? $2.99, that's not a big deal. But they price it out per extra house you're going to, like that's going to add up really fast. And it doesn't take long to lose a subscriber at this rate. And once you lose one, it's really hard to get them back. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like the move for me. I feel bad for folks in, here's the countries: Argentina, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, and the Dominican Republic. Man, come on. You're gonna test this out in smaller markets and see how it goes. Yeah. Like those poor folks, they're just trying to watch their damn Netflix. I don't know.
Yeah, the other big problem Netflix has had is not only getting new subscribers, but keeping subscribers. They're finding that people are signing up for like a month to just, watch Stranger Things, and then they're off again. They don't really have a lot of continuing IP or shows or movies to really keep people engaged.
Yeah. I don't know if this is going to work as a long-term strategy. Only time will tell. But as for me and my house, like Andy said at the top, like I don't know, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be subbed to Netflix. Andy, you're in the same boat, I'm sure. Like it's on the chopping block. If I got to cut one month because I just feel like I want to cut down on my monthly expenditures, my subscription services. Netflix is an easy one to go. Like it's a low-impact library. They don't have a lot going on over there right now. Stranger Things just wrapped. I don't
A
know.
lot of their library is available elsewhere as well.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of their stuff is available on other platforms like Amazon Prime Video that already comes with my Prime subscription that has a host of other benefits alongside it. HBO Max has like a much more robust library, including Turner Classic Movies, a ton of stuff from Cartoon Network, and they're combining with Warner Brothers in the next year. Like that, there's a lot of other things going on in the market. Like I don't know. Netflix is trying to be a trailblazer, and it feels like they're going in the wrong direction. We will see what that earnings call has to say. We'll report back next week on Off Script. If you want to hear that episode, just subscribe, and then it'll come right to your phone when it comes in. Anyway, our next story: Kevin Spacey is out of he parts ways following UK sexual assault charges. Lately, there has been a run of what seems like celebrities that are trying to make a comeback. Right? Johnny Depp just got through his trial, and he's going to be in some new movie. I saw James Franco's going to be in some new film after 4 years of doing nothing amid his allegations. And now Kevin Spacey is getting pushed to the back of the line. No, sir. We don't have any crooks in our film industry. Andy, what do you think about this?
Well, I wanted to first sort of say is that we're not a gossip podcast. We're not here for the celebrity gossip, but this does impact films themselves, and that's why we're bringing it up. And it is important to address that these things are still going on. Kevin Spacey is going to be being put on trial for, I think it's 5 counts of sexual assault that happened in the past couple of decades in the UK. He has faced similar charges or allegations in LA as well. Most of those have kind of disappeared or been dismissed. I mean, some of the defendants literally suspiciously died. So this has not been something new for him. He will not be, again, he won't be part of the Cannes Film Festival. And there are a couple of films he was going to star in that have dropped him as the lead. One is called 1242 Gateway to the West, which is some sort of Genghis Khan film. And then there was another one called, I just had it, Peter 5'8", which
Peter 5'8". Yes.
I'm not sure what that's about, but it's 2 films that he was supposed to star in and hopefully be, mount a comeback from his earlier allegations, and that's kind of back in the spotlight. So that's what's happening with this situation.
It's worth mentioning, like, neither of these films seem particularly large in scale. 1242 is about Genghis Khan invading Hungary. And it's a Hungarian film filmed in Hungary, I think, which is also where, funny story, Rob Zombie's The Munsters is filmed. We're going to talk about that trailer about halfway through the show. Just, I don't know, that shouldn't represent Hungary's film industry, but just we'll get to it. Stay tuned. And Peter 5'8" was also a small production. This stuff seems to happen a lot in the film industry. Hollywood seems to get away with much more than they should. And I think it's more than good when people are held accountable. I hope Kevin Spacey continues to be held accountable, especially with, a slew of people who have mysteriously turned up dead in regards to this. But like Andy said, we're not a gossip column. We're about bold cinema here. So keep it here on Off Script for more robust content. And lastly, before we get to our first review for Thor Love and Thunder, at the box office this week, Thor Love and Thunder is impressing folks, staying at number 1. And Where the Crawdads Sing, a smaller feature, does okay. And meanwhile, Top Gun is still like on the list. I think that movie's just going to be making money forever. I don't know if they're ever going to pull it out of cinemas.
It's the new Titanic. It's crazy.
It's like the new Dark Knight. They're like, we're going to keep it in theaters for 4 months. Like, okay, great. It's a great movie. Love it.
Yes, Thor Love and Thunder was number 1 last week when we were taking the week off. No surprise there. Made big money, and it was number 1 this weekend, but it's dropped off steeply, about 68%. Brought in another 46 million. It's just under 500 million, $500 million. It's doing Marvel money. No one's surprised about that, but the drop-offs are significant between both Doctor Strange and Thor had pretty steep drop-offs, which is not usually Marvel has better staying power, but this might be an indication of film quality. Other notables: Minions: Rise of Gru came in number 2 with 26 million, and the new kind of summer Oscar bait film Where the Crawdads Sing, starring Daisy Edgar Jones, surprised with 17 million over the weekend to come in at number 3. Top Gun Maverick and Elvis round out the top 4 and 5. Zach, any hot takes on this weekend's box office?
Not really. I'm a little surprised Where the Crawdads Sing didn't do better. That's financed
Swamp Girl.
by yeah, right. Yeah, financed by Reese Witherspoon as part of the Reese Witherspoon Book Club, which is like a huge deal in book circles, as I understand it. That movie, that book won a bunch of awards, got a ton of play last year, was on every like shopping list for mom for Christmas I found. I actually did get a copy for my mom. She loved it. So I guess I thought that movie was just going to have a bit more heat behind it, but it seems like it falls in this weird space that hasn't really recovered since the pandemic, of mostly women who aren't really going to the movies. Some do. They turn out for some things. Sandra Bullock's The Lost City did great, but this one is not doing so hot, and that bums me out. I think it's, I don't plan on seeing it, but I think it's important to tell relatively serious stories. It's not just like a CGI laden nightmare fuel mess. It bums me out a little. I do want to talk about the drop off for Thor though. If you have any thoughts on that, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, real quick about Crawdads, Swamp Girl. That's really the kind of film that in this kind of day and age, that's a Hulu original. Like it would be a really good straight to
mid-budget drama.
It's a great straight to streaming film. But again, unfortunately, in this climate, if you're not bringing like tons of action or some sort of IP, like look at everything else, like Thor, Top Gun, Minions, Elvis is kind of an outlier there, but it's a big, huge ordeal. Like Where the Crawdads Sing is just it's a mid-budget drama.
Mm-hmm. I was also pleased to see Paramount's children's animated film Paws of Fury: The Legend of Hank came in at number 6, or just under $7 million. Do you know anything about that movie? I found out a little bit of history. Apparently, I've
just seen a lot of. I've seen a lot of the trailers, and it's a kid's film for very young.
The animation looks real cheap, and I thought it was because it was coming from a small studio, but it's not. It's coming from Paramount. It's because it was made like 5 years ago. Apparently, it like greatly mimics Blazing Saddles, and originally it had a name just like Blazing Saddles. It's like this dog who rides into a cat town and becomes the sheriff, and nobody likes him. They changed the title, sat on it through COVID. Here we are, baby. Dump that children's animated movie. Perfect. Like right in the middle of the summer. It's great. The real quick before we move into Thor, the drop off on Thor Love and Thunder. How much of that do you think comes from like streaming services? Because I feel like there's a lot of drop off like on films like this from people who are just like, I'll wait till it shows up on Disney Plus. Like, I think that's why you get that big boon of first week people, right? People who actually want to see it in the theater, and then just people who don't care, right?
I think in one sense it depends on the quality of your movie. Look at Spider-Man. Like they were not going to wait for streaming. They're like, I'm going to go see it. I'm going to go see it twice, 3 times in theaters. Or I think it depends on how exciting your film is and and the rewatchability, because like that's kind of with Doctor Strange and Thor to a degree. Once you've seen it, you've seen it. There's not really a whole lot to unpack on multiple viewings, whereas like things like Endgame or Infinity War and of course Spider-Man have audiences going back week after week.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, and those are just comic book examples. Look at Top Gun, right? Like Top Gun's killing it, like continues to kill it. Nobody's like, when's this going to come to Paramount Plus? It will eventually, but for now, like people want to go see good stuff on the big screen, and word of mouth matters more than ever before. So with that, we should move into our first review of the episode. Andy's graciously agreed to take the summary on this one. Andy, thanks in advance. Take it away.
Thor: Love and Thunder. So this is the 4th entry in the Thor franchise, starring Chris Hemsworth, Taika Waititi, Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, among others. This is the 20-something film in the MCU series. We find
like 26, I think.
We find Thor kind of having a midlife crisis, a bit of a loss of like, what do I do? What am I doing with my life? Which is kind of where he is in the 3rd movie. So it's a little bit of a repeat. We see that New Asgard has become a big tourist destination. Thor doesn't really know what to do. He's not real sure. In the meantime, we meet a new character called Gorr the God Butcher. We meet him before he's butchering gods as kind of this lowly peasant who suffers a tragedy at the hands of an indifferent god. Sorry. And he slays said god with a weapon called the Necro Sword, and then eventually goes on a rampage to kill all gods because they're so indifferent. They don't care about regular human life. And he eventually goes after Thor. So he's the big bad guy. He's the main conflict in the movie. His power is really just kind of this dark sword that he has that can kind of kill everything, drains light, lives in the shadows. And the other big story element we have is the return of Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman. She is struggling with her own issues in the film and seeks out Mjolnir and becomes a Thor herself. And it's a strange thing. We never call her she Thor. She's just Thor or a Thor or a version.
The mighty Thor.
The mighty Jane Foster. The mighty Thor. And she's a lot of fun too. So they team up. Chris Hemsworth is having a little bit of his long lost love, although he didn't mention it for 20 films. He's still in love with her. Wants things to work out. A lot going on. It's a lot of fun. It's a Taika Waititi directed film, so there's lots of jokes, lots of humor. It's lighthearted, a lot of fun. Zach, what'd you think?
So there's this funny relationship I have with certain films that we see in theaters. Like sometimes I'll go see a movie and at first I'll think, I didn't really like it, but then you sit on it for a few days and you keep coming back to it and you keep just thinking about it randomly, and you start to really come around on it. Elvis was this way, the Baz Luhrmann film. Like at first I was like, it was weird. It was a lot. I didn't really like it. And then after a few days, I started talking to Andy again. And I was like, man, this movie's actually kind of good, man. Like I keep thinking about it. Thor Love and Thunder feels like the opposite of that for me. I think I kind of liked it when I was in the theater. And then the further I get away from it, the more I'm like, okay, this wasn't that good. I did not like this movie. It's fine. It's acceptable. This is like
Thor.
If I was a teacher grading this paper, I'd give it a C. Like it's fine. This isn't a failure by any means, but like, man, I thought there was going to be more. Taika Waititi coming back after Thor Ragnarok, which was handily the best Thor adventure, probably one of the better Marvel films, honestly. And this felt like it was going to have the same energy, and it's less than some of its parts to me. What did you think, Andy? I feel like you liked it a little more than I did.
Yeah, I felt similarly. It didn't hold up as well as Thor Ragnarok or other more serious films like Captain America Civil War and Winter Soldier. Those films have a lot of theme going on in there. Winter Soldier is about safety versus security, something that has been a very real issue within the United States. Civil War is about accountability versus kind of like freedom to protect. Like it has these really interesting themes and conflicts, and we're completely missing that in this movie. There's a little bit too much going on. Like I said, there's the kind of unrequited love story of Thor and Jane. There's Gorr the God Butcher, played by Christian Bale, who frankly to me there's not enough of. He's a highlight of the film and he's not in it enough for being the bad guy. Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, she's like mayor of New Asgard and bored because she wants to be a fighter and missing out on the action. So you got all the players, you got sets, special effects. It just doesn't really come together. You have this very kind of strange middle section where they go to talk to Zeus, played by Russell Crowe, channeling Jared Leto in his. It's like he does this half Greek, half Italian accent, and that's something you've probably seen in the trailers a lot. It doesn't come too much, and what the earlier Marvel films did is they had a lot of heart. They had real stakes. They had real feelings and emotions, and there are some really serious topics in Thor 4, but then it's weird because it's juxtaposed with like lots of jokes and quips, and it's like it shifts around tonally strange. And people are, as much as they loved or used to love all the humor in Marvel, people are starting to kind of get tired of it. They're kind of tired of like the joke every other line or every other minute. It's starting to get a little old.
Yeah, I remember thinking Thor Ragnarok, which was Waititi's first kind of swing at the Marvel formula. It felt like a movie that was made by somebody who really didn't like superhero movies. Like it takes our Asgardian hero and whisks him away to a totally bombastic neon planet, strips him of all of his power, and makes only his character like the hero, right? The person he is inside. Like that's what he has to lean on and overcome adversity with in that movie. It introduces Valkyrie, who's an exciting character. Tessa Thompson, okay, her name's Valkyrie, right? Tessa Thompson's character. Yeah. You got some good Loki stuff in there. Like that stuff works. And the weakest parts of that movie is like Kate Blanchett's villain in Thor Ragnarok, because that's the most like generic CGI comic book stuff in there. It deconstructed the idea of what one of these movies is and did something new with the formula. It was so good, in fact, that people put it on a lot of top 10 lists. Waititi got this movie, right? Like, great, good. Disney's got their exciting new auteur to make movies. This movie feels like it tries to do that same thing. Like it tries to walk back the idea of what the traditional comic book movie is, spend a lot more time with Thor in his character, like inside of his head. But it's kind of a miss. It does have strong parts. There are bits that work, namely, like Andy said, Christian Bale's character, Gorr the God Butcher, is very interesting. Really good stuff, actually. He's given it his all and doing a great job. Yeah, I like Natalie Portman in this movie. She actually has a really good arc. I think the Lady Thor, Almighty Thor stuff works really well. Dr. Jane Foster, as they call her in the movie. I actually thought that was a surprising return to form. I did not think she was going to be good in this movie because I felt like she was kind of jaded by the Marvel formula, but here she is and she's great. And the performances are all right. Hemsworth's fine, but it's just not like good. It spends so much time like laughing and joking about what's happening, and like it just deflates everything you're watching. And in an attempt to step back and away from what we've already seen a million times, right? Like, oh, villain's gonna blow up the earth and so the hero's got to stop him. It comes up with a new idea. Thor has to save a young group of Asgardians instead of like save the whole planet or whatever. But it just also feels uniquely lower stakes, and I just don't care. And this is coming on the back of like the last 5 or 6 Marvel movies that have been like really just all right. There's been a couple standouts. You expect this to be an Avenger, right? This is Thor we're talking about. This is Taika Waititi. This is going to be one of the good Marvel movies. And it just kind of is okay. And when it comes off okay, that's certainly less than good, and that's not what you want, you know?
I think this movie really suffers from Loki not being in here. Like Tom Hiddleston is such a highlight,
doesn't it? Yes.
Of those movies and the other Avengers movies that he shows up in. He's so good, and his lack of being in this movie is really felt. Again, there's just too much going on. Like Jane becoming Thor is a huge deal, and it's kind of rushed. I mean, again, I talk about comic book movies need page turn moments. That's part of when you read comics. You get a really exciting page turn. There's something amazing on the other side, and when Jane becomes Thor, there's tons of moments for that, and it's just like you go through it really quick. She shows up early in Act 1, like, "Hey, I'm Thor." Like you could easily had a whole movie about that. Again, Christian Bale's character, he is the God Butcher. You don't see him butcher anyone. You see him butcher one god, and then like kind of a trail of destruction, but you don't really see him be the threat that he's made out to be. He's hamming it up a lot of times because he's like, it's like the classic super British like bad guy, and he's like the CGI effects on him make him look very ghoulish and very cartoonish. So that works pretty well. He was one of my favorite parts of this, but it's the plot. It's the narrative just not making a lot of sense, not being engaging, not having that emotional weight that a lot of the earlier films had.
Yeah, the movie suffers from like really poor pacing. It's got a lot of scenes of 2 or 3 characters standing around talking about what they should do, and then flipping to flashback or a sequence of like Korg, who is voiced by Taika Waititi, explaining past stuff in the Marvel universe to set up context for what's happening here, and like it's just struggling under the weight of itself and the series that it's trying to uphold. Like Ragnarok uniquely got away from this by sending Thor to a place he's never been and like pulling him completely out of his element, and then it got to like naturally evolve a new story in a new setting. This movie does not have that luxury. Most of it takes place in New Asgard, which is like where all the Asgardians who have nowhere to live following the events of Thor Ragnarok are living on Earth. It doesn't take any of them seriously. They're all exclusively the butt of jokes. Parents who have lost children, people who die. Like none of it matters. It's turned into like this weird like Renaissance fair place that's just the most ham-fisted joke. And that tone is throughout the entire film. Like it rarely takes itself seriously, and it's a bummer because the writer of this is Taika Waititi. Like he wrote Ragnarok and he wrote this, obviously pulling from elements
Jojo
of
Rabbit
comics. Jojo Rabbit, right? Love Taika Waititi. He's also writing the next Star Wars movie, and like I watching this, I'm like nervous. I don't know what new Star Wars is gonna look like, but this is not a good showing to go into that. Like this is not it.
Well,
It feels like he had writer's block. It feels like he didn't know what to write. It feels like it's written by committee and it's just like kind of clumsily put together. Does not have the polish I expect of him. You know, it's a bummer.
Well, what I feel with a lot of Marvel films and a lot of big films, the director is just kind of like the construction manager, that he's just there to make sure the home gets built. He doesn't design it. He doesn't have a say. He's just like, okay, let's make sure this thing gets walls and a roof on it. I feel like directors don't really have a ton of say. You're just there to do what the Disney execs and the committee has said and just make sure the film gets done. I think Taika Waititi has a little bit more leeway. A little bit more of his own personality, but I mean, he's written great stuff. He's got a few good shows out right now. Some people have said that we might be suffering from overexposure. He's kind of like the way Lin-Manuel Miranda was like in everything a few years ago.
Lin-Manuel Mirandification of Taika Waititi, yes.
Yeah. So that may or may not be true, but it's definitely a miss, and it's a little disappointing.
It is disappointing. I kind of looked into the background of the movie to try to find out some more details about, I don't know, like how it got to feeling just so mediocre, like how just so acceptable. As far as I can tell, film was shot in Australia, Chris Hemsworth's, hometown, and right next to Taika Waititi's hometown of New Zealand, which is great. Film features a ton of Chris Hemsworth family, which is questionable.
A lot of people, a lot of the actors, not just Chris Hemsworth, a lot of like their kids are in this film specifically.
Yeah, it's a family joint. Christian Bale did not want to be in this movie. Like he very explicitly did not. He said after Dark Knight Rises, I don't want to do any comic book movies. Apparently his kids begged him. He said he only did it for his kids, and they begged him to be in a Marvel movie. Please, Dad, be in a Marvel movie. And then apparently he almost backed out due to scheduling. There was some other thing, and he was just like, I don't want to do it. I'm out. I'm out of the movie. And they got him, and he does great. Like he's one of the best parts of the film, which I think is funny. I think it just comes down to a shoddy production, and that sounds silly coming from Marvel because they spend $100 million on these freaking movies, but. Yeah, there's a lot of really lame CGI, and a lot of it's shot on freaking green screen, and like characters just dropped into scenes with artificial lighting. There's a couple scenes in particular where I couldn't tell if it was all of them, but Thor and then Mighty Thor, Jane Foster, have CGI helmets, and they look so bad. They look so bad, and it's like, oh God, anybody who sees these things can't unsee them, and it trashes the whole scene. Kids are gonna miss it because kids, but like, my God,
it kind of has.
What are we doing here? Who's making these things?
It has the Fast and Furious issue going on where it's like story doesn't matter, just like action, humor, just fireworks and explosions and entertain the audience for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and like uniquely Fast and Furious, I can't speak for the next one because they have a new director, but like at least Fast 9, like at least it knew what it was. It knew when it sent two characters to space that it was ridiculous and a joke. And it knew when they had John Cena on an endless zip line in the climax of the film. Like, they knew. Everybody making that movie knew how stupid it was. And it kind of leans into the joke, and it works, and like it invites you along for the ride. And I think that's what Taika Waititi wants this to be. But somehow, like, it becomes the very thing he's trying to make fun of. And like, it just feels hollow. Thor's got a couple of like speeches in here that are really bad, like really, really bad, and are not interesting or funny. The trailer's got most of the actual laughs in the movie. There's like a couple others, but it just, I don't know. I didn't find myself laughing a lot. I'm not even sure if it passed the 6 laugh test. It's fine. It's acceptable, you know? But God, Marvel's got to do more than acceptable, man. Like, outside of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange, if you like that one, a lot of people are really mid on it. There's just not a lot exciting going on here anymore.
Well, and that brings us to another issue is we again have kind of zero direction on overall the larger direction of what Marvel MCU is going towards. There was a stat that came out that we have almost 100 hours of content in phase 4, not just the films, but also the TV shows. And none of it really makes sense altogether. It doesn't really connect. It's not really going towards. And again, when we talk about phase 1 was 6 films, in 5.5 if you count the Hulk. And so you had 6 films, and the 6 includes Avengers. So you had 5 individual films, then the group movie. And we are on, I don't know, like 6 or 7 films, 6 or 7 shows. And what are we doing?
Yeah, there was a tweet last week that somebody posted, like, just showing how many hours of like pure content has gone into each phase. And like phase 1 of the Marvel universe is like 6 hours. It's like 6 movies, or like 8 hours, right? It's the first few, first couple Iron Mans, Captain America, like small. Phase 2 is like 18 hours, like 20 hours. Phase 3 is like 40 hours. Like, that's a lot of content. Phase 4, where they're at right now, including like Marvel series on Disney Plus, which they've explained is a part of this, is like over 100 hours of content. Like, it's so bananas. And I guess, I don't know, I just thought Thor was going to cut through that noise, right? Like, and that was a silly expectation to put on this film. You shouldn't go into a movie expecting more than it's going to be, but man, like, it had everything set up, right? All the pins were ready for Taika Waititi to knock him down here. Get with Chris Hemsworth, who's looking bigger and musclier than ever before. Bring back Natalie Portman, like, do some exciting stuff. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. Like, it's acceptable, I guess. Any other thoughts on this for recommendations? I don't know if I'm starting to talk around myself.
I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Thor Love and Thunder?
If you're a diehard Marvel fan and you've seen everything and you've seen it all in theaters, you probably want to get on board. I mean, I thought it was fine. Like, it is a lot of fun. There's a lot of action pieces. There's a lot of jokes. The plot and narrative is kind of all over the place. It's not super engaging. Doesn't really have that emotional depth that Ragnarok had, or some of the earlier or other Marvel friends. If you're not a huge fan, I would say save it for streaming. It'll be out on Disney Plus in a couple months. You're not missing much, and it's a little long. It's 2 hours, 15, 20 minutes or so. So mostly save it for streaming unless you're a big fan.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Just wait till this is on Disney Plus. Don't bother. You're not going to see anything here that's going to blow your socks off. I don't think it needs to be seen on the big screen to enjoy it. If anything, watching on a smaller screen might hide some of the bad CGI. There's other exciting movies coming out soon. There's other stuff in theaters you can go see. And, watching something like Top Gun Maverick, like, at least being able to see like the physicality of the action in there, and makes you appreciate the feeling of adrenaline you're getting, the dopamine and serotonin firing in your brain when you see these scenes, versus what's happening here. Like, this feels dry. It feels milquetoast. It's fine, but it doesn't, I don't think it does a great job of wrapping up any kind of Thor storylines. I don't think it has any kind of satisfying conclusion that people are going to need to see. It's fine. It's acceptable.
I also thought we were maybe retiring Chris Hemsworth at this point. I thought Natalie Portman was going to maybe take over. I think she's just signed on for this film. So who knows how many more, and it also begs the question of how many individual films can you do on a character before it gets super stale.
Right. Yeah, it feels like they've set everything up so if this tests well, then they can spin off and do a series for anybody they want. Like it's fine. It's acceptable. That's Thor: Love and Thunder. Hooray! Yeah. Can't wait to see what Marvel does next. With that, we should move into our next segment. Andy, I think I'm taking the first movie in here, but do you want to at least introduce our bit here?
It's time for the trailer park.
Perfect. So the trailer park, for new listeners, is when we talk about, upcoming trailers, new things that are coming out, things we want to maybe see or cover on the show, things you should know about to be an informed cinema goer. This week, we've got 4 movies to talk about, mostly stuff coming out in September and then 1 in November. I'm going to get us started with a movie called, I should take this off Facebook. There we go. Boom. Movie called See How They Run. So See How They Run is a murder mystery following a desperate Hollywood film producer who's looking to make a play out of a film production, or make a film out of a play. And members of the cast start appearing dead in the play hall where they're filming this. And our crack inspectors, played by Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan, have to solve this puzzling whodunit before, I don't know, everybody gets murdered, I guess. Looks a little bit like Knives Out, right? It's a comedy mystery. I don't know when it's set. I'm going to guess this is like, I don't know,
30s, 40s.
Yeah, 30s. It's a goofy looking comedy from director Tom George, who interestingly has done really nothing exciting. This is kind of his first feature film, as far as I can tell. He's done some TV, but it's got a really stellar cast. We got Sam Rockwell, Saoirse Ronan, Adrian Brody, Harris Dickinson, who's the kid in that new Kingsman movie. I don't know. Andy, what do you think of See How They Run?
This looks like a lot of fun. Your comparison to Knives Out is really apt. That's what it reminded me a lot of. It's a murder mystery, big group of people, kind of quirky inspectors. Saoirse Ronan, in particularly, Sam Rockwell is like the established, experienced inspector, and she's like the young up and comer. And there's this funny bit where she's accusing everyone of murder. She's like, "You're under arrest. You're under arrest," and he has to stop her. He's like, "No, not yet. Like, no, you're getting ahead of yourself." This looks like a lot of fun. Saoirse Ronan's always a joy. I haven't seen Sam Rockwell in anything in a long time, and it's got a big cast, fun cast. Everybody: Yellowell, Adrian Brody, Ruth Wilson. Looks like a lot of fun.
It does look like a lot of fun. That's coming out in September. We don't have an exact date yet. PG-13. I don't know. Keep an eye out for See How They Run. Andy, what's next?
Next is The Munsters, which is the reboot remake. I've coined a new term, which I'm going to use now, called IP resurrection.
Okay, I'll take IP resurrection.
This is an IP resurrection of The Munsters, the show from the 1960s about kind of this horror family, a little bit of like an Addams Family. I remember actually watching episodes of this when I was growing up. This show was only on for 2 seasons, but it ran in syndication for ages and ages. And it's been remade in kind of this grotesque living color by Rob Zombie. And this might be one of the worst trailers I've ever seen in my life. Like it's really bad. It looks like a straight to DVD TV series, and it's supposed to be a feature film. It just looks terrible color. Like it's like they kept that 1960s aesthetic, like humor, everything, and it didn't really. I mean, I guess the makeup's better, makeup and costuming's better. It just looks awful. It's like I wouldn't show it to my kids. I wouldn't show it. Like I would like let's go watch a Pixar movie. Let's go watch Minions or something.
Yeah,
like, it looks terrible for everyone involved, parents, children.
So I'm not a Munsters fan by any means, but I was so astounded by how bad this trailer looks. I had to go do some research and find out more. Andy's right. The Munsters ran for 2 seasons. There was an animated series. I think there might have been a movie at some point. Otherwise, this IP has been bounced around to different creators for years. In the early 2000s, the Wayans brothers owned the Munsters for a while. They were going to do a thing with it. They were going to like reboot it and make a series. Apparently around around 2013, Seth Meyers from Saturday Night Live and Late Night with Seth Meyers. He got the rights to the Munsters. He got it from the Wayans, and he was going to do a thing where the Munsters lived in modern day Brooklyn, but we're still the Munsters, right? So that was going to be like the gag. It's a little, they're fish out of water. But that never came to anything. And so Rob Zombie finally got it and is producing this movie in Hungary with a cast and crew you've never heard of, under a production team that has made some of like the trashiest movies you've seen in the last decade. I don't have their name right now, but I talk about it more. I'm sure we'll talk about the Munsters more. And originally, like when they revealed this movie, which apparently was shooting for like 10 months, by the way, insane production schedule. I don't know what the hell they were doing. But when they originally released like a cast photo, it was in black and white. The movie features 3 of Rob Zombie's, fan favorite people for casting: his wife, Sherry Moon Zombie, his best buddy, and then another one of his friends who've all been in his movies, House of a Thousand Corpses, whatever. But anyway, like first look at this movie was in black and white, and people thought, oh, maybe it'll be like the original Munster series. It actually looked kind of good in black and white. And the trailer features a few scenes in black and white that looks pretty good. But then it goes to color, and it's like, oh no, this looks awful. Just looks terrible.
This is actually one of those properties that would benefit from the gritty reboot that we were doing for a while.
Hugely benefit.
Like make it, PG-13 horror or PG horror if it's aimed for the kids.
Yeah, which you think somebody like Zombie would be prone to do, but he claims he was a fan of the original.
He's made some really well-known horror films that are pretty extreme. So maybe you can't do that with this property, but it can at least be, I don't know, something interesting, maybe a little scary. But it looks so bad. It looks so bad.
He claims he's a big fan of the original and loved it, and he said he wants to make this for the kids. This is for kids who are going to come to love the Munsters just like he did. But the story is how Herman Munster and his wife met, which is not a kid's story. Like, who cares, right? Like, just real clumsy, real bad. If you want to laugh, go check out the Munsters trailer. It looks so awful. It looks like it was shot on an iPhone, like in 2006. Like it just looks terrible. And speaking of bad reboots, we talk about the trailer for Clerks 3
again. IP Resurrection.
IP Resurrection. Kevin Smith has returned to the View Askew universe of old to make another Clerks movie. What he claims will be the final one, just like he said Clerks 2 would be the final one. In Clerks 3, Dante and Randall, 2 layabouts extraordinaire, return to working at the Quick Stop from Clerks 1. And after a sudden and arresting heart attack, Randall decides he is going to make a movie, and he sets out to shoot Clerks 1. I think that's the plot of Clerks 3. Dre and Silent Bob are back. The movie is in color, unlike Clerks 1. The reason I want to talk about this movie is because I really like Clerks. And I even kind of like Clerks 2. And I will go see this movie in theaters. But my God, it does not. If you're not a fan, it does not look good.
I liked Clerks 2. It looked funny. This actually, do you know what this reminded me of? Actually, was the Matrix Resurrections, because it's like, it's very meta. It's a movie about a movie, because the plot seems to be like, we're gonna make a movie about ourselves,
right?
Which is like them making a movie of the first movie. The Joe Dante Gremlins 2 sequel that like is analyzing the popularity of the first film more than like being a proper sequel. Yes, this is a response kind of movie. I don't know. People didn't look all right. Kevin Smith's looking thin after his heart attack. I'm glad he's come back around. And for what it's worth, like, I will go see this movie because I love those first 2 films. But what do you think, Andy? I think it looks bad, and I liked how the second one looked. The trailer for the second one was good. That it's a really funny movie. This looks pretty bad. A lot of these characters are so old and so dated. I mean, like the first one came out 25 years ago, 30 years ago, almost.
Yeah.
It's been.
I don't have exact. It's been a while.
It's been a hot minute, and
it does not look great.
And it's also just that it's not really continuing any kind of story. It's like it's a movie about the making of the first movie. It's very meta.
Yeah, Brian O'Halloran, who plays Dante, looks terrible. and the kid who played Elias in the second movie is in here, and he's almost unrecognizable because he's gained so much weight, and it's just like, oh god. Like I can appreciate a movie about life passing you by. Honestly, like I get it, but man, like this has got to be it. There's no way there's another one of these. I mean, this is the beginning of the end.
Yeah, it's just like I said, Rosario Dawson looks amazing. Hasn't aged a day. The other guys
coming off the set of Ahsoka, doing Star Wars stuff now. She's doing great. Love Rosario Dawson. Ben Affleck's in this movie. Sure, why not? Jason Mewes is sober. Clerks 3 coming in September with an unannounced date. One more movie before we talk about Mad God. Andy, please take it away.
Amsterdam. So this is a new film by David O. Russell, who of course did Silver Linings Playbook and the Fighter. He does kind of Oscar worthy or Oscar aimed focused films. Works with Jennifer Lawrence and Christian Bale a lot. This stars Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and I can't think of his name. John David Washington. As
it's a really good cast. Yeah,
right. And it's a bigger cast than that. Those are kind of the main three players. It's set in the 30s. They are three kind of wartime friends who they witness a murder and are subsequently suspected of said murder, and they have to kind of uncover the truth and also clear their own names. And it has similar to what's the first movie we talked about? See How They Run. It's a murder mystery. It's funny. It's quirky. Reminds me of Knives Out as well. Huge cast, like I said: Christian Bale, Anya Taylor-Joy, Margot Robbie, Robert De Niro, Zoe Saldana, Timothy Olyphant, Rami Malek, Michael Shannon, Mike Myers, Andrea Riseborough, Taylor Swift, John David Washington, Chris Rock. I mean, it's a lot. It's a huge cast. It looks like a lot of fun. Christian Bale has he plays this doctor who has like a prosthetic eye, which they make a lot of gags out of, and it's a kind of lighthearted film, but it's slated for, I think, a November release, so it's definitely going to be right in that Oscar window. I think this looks like a lot of fun. Definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, the poster they've released for the film is just the cast list followed by logo, and the cast list reads like the best Oscar bait you've ever wanted to see in your whole life. Yeah, like stunning cast. David O. Russell, I'm okay on. Since this movie came out, there have been some postings of things he's done in the past, which are not great. I don't know if you've looked into any of that, Andy.
I have not. I've not. Would you enlighten us?
Yeah, so there's a great clip of him screaming at some actress on set. Like he gets so mad and he just starts verbal abuse, all kinds of stuff. That's a movie made in the 90s. I don't recall who exactly it was, but he's just like he loses
going full Kubrick on her.
Going full Bale, right? Like Christian Bale. Their salvation. I'm sure that's why these two get along. And then there's some stuff about some things that happened with his niece that doesn't sound great. I was reading a couple articles about it and I was like, okay, this does not read great. But apparently nobody who works with him decided this was a concern because the guy's made some good movies, including American Hustle and Silver Linings Playbook. Do your own research on David O. Russell, but this movie looks super good. And I hope, I don't know. I hope the things I was reading aren't true because that would really put a pall over this whole thing. It looks like a really fun movie, and I hope it's great stuff. Coming out in November. November 4th, I think, is the date we're expecting it, but I don't think it's been formally announced. So, yeah, that's Amsterdam. And with that, we should move on to our final film of the episode. This is a unique feature. This is a movie that I didn't really prepare for. I had seen some local screenings in the area at like indie theaters like the Texas Theater and thought maybe we should go check it out. And when I mentioned it to Andy and a buddy of ours, our buddy Matt, who has a Shudder subscription, said, "Hey, you should just come over and watch it at my place." We all got together, we had a couple of beers, and we watched Phil Tippett's Mad God. So, Mad God is a stop motion animated horror film that is very abstract. This is going to be bold cinema. Bold cinema is what this is. Mad God is the product of 30 years of toil and sweat and work from master stop motion animator Phil Tippett. Phil Tippett is one of the brilliant minds behind the stop motion in films like RoboCop, the CGI in Jurassic Park that still holds up amazing, the CGI in Starship Troopers that still holds up amazing. He worked on Return of the Jedi, putting ships together for Industrial Light and Magic. He worked on Empire. He has worked on incredible films over the years, like putting together some of the most amazing stop motion effects you've ever seen. And while he was doing this, on the side, he came up with this idea for this movie called Mad God. I don't even know if he had called it Mad God back then. And he started filming scenes in his workshop just slowly, right? Like on a weekend, he'd put together a shot and he'd film it. And he'd put together this later. And this ends up becoming a project that's over 30 years of work. He had help with other like startup animators who wanted to get into the business. And he was like, well, come over to my shop and we can work on this movie I'm making called Mad God. He had a friend do the score, which is stellar. And when it finally comes out, it gets limited screenings. Some people go see it, and it goes to Shudder, the horror service, which is where we watched it. This is our first review for a Shudder film. We'll talk about Shudder a little more towards the end of the review. Mad God is a really odd movie. It is the story of what looks like a miner. He's called the Assassin in the summary of the film, who hops in a corroded diving bell and descends from the heavens into what looks like the earth. But as he keeps going deeper and deeper, it becomes this like horrific nightmare hellscape, these levels of insanity and depravity and gore and horror, the likes of which have never been seen. And once he reaches the bottom, he hops out with a briefcase and sets out to do something. Mad God is a really odd movie, and I'm excited to talk about it. Andy, what did you think of Mad God?
This is really a crazy film. It's very experimental, avant-garde, not for kind of the casual film goer. There's a lot going on in this, and you have to. It really challenges the audience. You have to kind of figure out what it's saying. It's like looking at abstract art. Or something like that, because again, there's no dialogue, there's no real clearly spoken narrative other than our protagonist kind of heads through multiple layers of this post-industrial hellscape where it's just filled with different horrors and grotesqueries of manufacturing. And I think there's a lot of parallels to things in the real world economy, capitalism, class struggle, things like this. But again, nothing is told to you. There's zero dialogue. You just have to read into it. But then there's other parts of the film that are different from that as well. There's a long section of this kind of cloaked, hooded figure carrying something through, again, like a wasteland of, again, it's very much up to interpretation. I definitely liked it, but it's something else. Luckily, it's not super long. It was only 85 minutes. I think it does have a lot to say. It does look incredible because the sets, all the miniatures and dolls, and I mean, it just must have taken excruciating amount of time to make this. But it looks phenomenal. It's definitely, I've never seen anything like it. That's for sure. But it's probably not for everyone either.
Yeah, so you heard right. There's no dialogue in this movie. There's none. Nobody ever utters a word in 83 minutes. You do get an opening text crawl, which Andy is quick to point out is some Star Wars shit that needs to go. Fair. I kind of agree.
I don't mind. No, let me clarify. I don't mind a text crawl every now and then. I think the Star Wars text crawl needs to go.
Yeah,
in Star Wars, but that's
well, they're working on it, right? Rogue One didn't have one, Solo didn't have one. They're trying. But Mad God is more. Yeah, Andy's right. More like abstract art, like really, than like a traditional narrative structure. There is a main character that you kind of follow. There is kind of a protagonist and a goal that he's setting out to accomplish. As you watch the film, that kind of unfolds before you. But it's never given context. Like nobody ever pops on screen and explains what's happening or says, oh, here's why we're doing this. Like Never happens. Like you are entirely expected to look at these visuals and then judge for yourself whatever that means to you. This is described as a nightmare 30 years in the making, which is exactly how I describe it too, because it's just kind of this freakish, unruly design of abnormalities that I really enjoyed. Alternatively, if you're not getting a whole lot of narrative, what you should know walking into Mad God or watching it on Shudder is you are going to get what is probably some of the best stop motion animation I've ever seen ever. Amazing, amazing visuals in some of these scenes. Some of these miniatures are so good looking, and he has these camera pans that look so thoughtful, like in practical lighting that looks so good. Everything is covered in this grime and grit and dust and blood and gore and horror that looks amazing. Like I've never seen anything like it. No CGI will ever look like how Mad God looks, like, because it has this like tangible feeling of like weight and structure. It's like you can see the fingerprints and the hair and the sweat that goes into everything, and that makes this like horrific underworld that our assassin is traveling through that much more tangible and that much more obscure. And it gives everything this pall of like horror over it that's just fascinating, all presented with no dialogue and really fantastic music. I don't recall who the composer is. I'll look it up on IMDb while we're talking about it here, but Mad God is special. and I think I really like it. It's not without its faults though. Andy mentioned in the middle of it there is a large section of live action. This is a blend of media. There is some live action alongside the stop motion. And it does feel a little like in those bits, I was like, this is where they just didn't have the time to do the stop motion. So they were like, well, just film this. It's fine. Yeah. It does have a narrative purpose, I think. With the bits that are live action, I think they're live action implicitly. I think it feels planned that way. But additionally, it feels a little short. It's 83 minutes with credits and an opening text scroll. Like, so the actual content is less than 80 minutes, and it goes fast. Like before you know it, the movie's over, which is surprising. And also, no dialogue kind of hurts. I mean, it doesn't have to have dialogue, but like, I don't know, a little context for stuff would have been cool.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of, if you've seen Koyaanisqatsi, the it's not Philip Glass. I can't remember the director, but that was a film that came out in the 80s that was kind of about man's destruction of the planet, and it's just an hour and a half of just audio and visual. There's no dialogue, there's no like main character. It's just a series of images set to music and lots of things happening, a lot of industrialization, that sort of thing. This film is in that same vein. You're just seeing a lot of things going on, and it's up to you to interpret what all that means.
Yeah. Oh my God, Andy, you're not going to believe this. The music for Mad God, which I'm sitting here praising, the composer for this movie did Tombstone Rashomon.
Oh, look at that.
We watched Tombstone Rashomon. We were really, really middling on, right? Am I crazy?
Yes.
Yes, we absolutely watched that movie. Anyway, sorry. Go back and check out our review of Tombstone Rashomon. I can't tell you what episode it was on, but they're all on. They're available on Spotify, all the usual places. I love the music in this movie, and I love the visuals in this movie. I do like that. That feels like there is kind of a central plot. You can keep up with our kind of lead, and the film follows him for most of the movie. And that at least gives you like grounding in this crazy bananas world. I love the presentation of these like levels of insanity our characters dropping through, because when the film opens, this kind of diving bell just descends from like a string or a cable up in the heavens and goes past like this layer of like crust of the earth that is just like war and bloodshed and bombs going off. It descends through one level and you see some weird fossils, then it descends through another level. You're getting big giant fossils, then it keeps going, and then by the time you get to the bottom, like you have no idea what you're going to be getting into. And that's where you're getting into this like factory world, like of conveyor belts and workers who are just crushed and demolished the second they get in the way of whatever the product is. I think that's where you start to get these elements of like capitalism, right? This world that is deemed by to be run by industry first and profits over people. Certainly, there's some musings on that, I think, but the film starts to get a bit more abstract in its later bits, namely with a shift in narrative structure when we kind of bounce between our lead protagonist and a couple of other odd characters, and that's where it starts to get real weird. And I wish it'd been able to keep kind of this like, I don't know, the structured narrative that's in its first act and even kind of the second act. It does start to lose me by the end, and I didn't think disappointed. It was too short. I would have watched more of Mad God. I wanted more of Mad God. I was bummed at the end. I was like, that's it. Where's the rest? But you spend 30 years making a movie. I get it. At some point, you got to put it out, right?
Yep. I was going to mention the soundtrack is available on Spotify. Actually, I just added it to the to our. I should add a link to this. I have a Spotify playlist of notable film soundtracks, and so just added Mad God to that.
Nice. I'm gonna go check that out. Yeah, overall, like I was actually really pleased with Mad God. It's a challenging film to recommend. We'll get to recommendations at the end, of course. Before we get to it, I do want to talk about Shudder a little bit. Andy, have you ever looked at Shudder? Because it was the first time for me. I was surprised.
No, that was the first time I've seen anything on there before.
Shudder is a $5 a month streaming service, a la Apple TV, right? Same idea. $5 a month, much cheaper than the usuals. Also, much more limited library. Shudder is exclusively horror. They had a lot of folk horror, indie horror, but a bunch of John Carpenter's libraries in there. They're missing a lot of like universal horror, right? You're not going to get any classic monsters. You're not going to get anything really modern. Nothing from Blumhouse, which is a damn shame. It'd be great if they got together. But for what it's worth, I was actually impressed with what's on Shudder. They also have a channel feature that just runs horror movies constantly, so you can get in there and just discover new stuff from the striking visuals and whatever you happen to tune into. But yeah, I want to take a minute to talk about that because we've never subscribed to Shudder and talked about Shudder. For what it's worth, Shudder's kind of cool, and that's where you can watch Mad God if you'd like. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think it's about it. Andy, anything else for recommendations?
I think I'm ready.
Andy, would you recommend Mad God?
Yes, with a lot of caveats. Definitely recommend it to fans of horror, fans of kind of experimental, avant-garde, surrealist films. If you like things like Memoria, which we've watched before, I'm thinking of Vending Things, Being John Malkovich, just films that are kind of way out in left field that aren't very mainstream, that you're probably not going to see even in the cinema. If you like that sort of thing, definitely check this out. If that's not your bag, completely understandable. Like, I'm not going to recommend this to like my mom or anything. Maybe not for you, but if you're curious, if you're interested, it's not very long. If you want to see some surrealist, avant-garde horror stop motion, then this is the film for you.
Yeah, I think if you're curious enough about Mad God to want to know more, like, you should totally check it out on Shudder. I think they have a free trial. If not, it's $5. If you are turned off by the sound of any of this, not the movie for you. Mad God leans all the way in with what it's doing. Like, it is very implicitly its own thing. And if you are turned off by the sound of any of this stuff, like, it's probably not going to be your bag, and that's totally cool. But if you're willing to venture into the dark, if you're willing to dive down deep with our assassin into the unexplainable horrors of hell, then you might just see some pretty incredible stuff. Like, I really think this movie's cool. I need to go back and watch it again. I liked Mad God a lot. It might be, I can't say it's one of my favorites of the year because I think it came out in 2021, despite my
honorable mentions
here. Honorable mentions, baby. Yeah, I think that's where it's going to be. And with that, we should honorably mention that that's our show. That's everything we got going on today. Andy, what are we watching next week?
We are seeing Jordan Peele's Nope, his long-awaited third film, horror film starring Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer. We just know it involves some horse entertainment, horse farmers, horse owners rather, and aliens,
ranch owners,
ranch owners in the
horse ranch, yeah.
Hollywood Horse Ranchers. Thank you. That involves some sort of alien invasion or something kind of like that. I'm really excited about that. Love Jordan Peele. Love his previous 2 films, which were Get Out and Us. Really looking forward to that. That's this Friday in theaters only. And then we will also be checking out The Gray Man, which is the $200 million action film from the Russo brothers of Avengers Endgame fame. This stars Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans as like spies, and it's spy versus spy affair. Ana de Armas is also in there, being the beauty that she always is, and phenomenal actress as well. It's on Netflix, so I guess we're watching it. I haven't heard good things. Heard it was very expensive. But we'll be back with those 2 next week for full reviews.
Yeah, I know early reviews are not always like a good guiding light for what's coming, but for what it's worth, like I've heard nothing but good things about Nope, and I've heard nothing but middling things about The Gray Man. So we'll see. How could The Gray Man be bad? It's directed by the Russo brothers of Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. It's got Chris Evans and Ryan Gosling.
Got that
and Ana de Armas.
It's got that N on it. That's why.
It sure does. Yeah, they got to spend that $200 million. Yeah, it's got a big Netflix logo on the side. So we'll see. If you enjoyed the show today, you can follow us on Facebook, where we live stream the show every Tuesday, unless I have COVID. Sorry again. You can follow us on YouTube, where we upload our live streams. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We're on all the usual podcast outlets: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartMedia. We have a website, offscriptfilmreview.com, and you can write us correspondence at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. But if you want to keep up with the show, keep up with your boys here at Offscript, the best thing you can do is just subscribe. Just subscribe to the show to get new episodes delivered straight to your phone every single week as soon as we are done uploading them. You can also follow us on Facebook, where the live streams are. I know I mentioned that before, but the live streams are fun. Hop on in here. You might just get a shout out on the show. Who knows? Anything could happen here on Offscript. And yeah, that's our show, episode 183. From all of us at Offscript, the home of bold cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.